I'm the dick. You're the one who made me read this book, and I'm the dick.
My name is Good. No, Primus song. My name is Good.
I actually don't know that Primus song.
Oh.
Welcome to the Brothers Comicszov.
So hi everybody, welcome to the Brothers Comicszov. I am Nick Rock Lobster, joined always by my brother
Eddie, not Rock Lobster.
I hate that you do the not Rock Lobster. It should just be not Lobster. Anyways, today we read S.C.U.D, the Disposable Assassin, the whole shebang.
I mean,
the whole shebang
alone made me want to slap you repeatedly when I saw that book come in.
Here's the thing.
This is like Sandman all over again, but we both had to deal with it.
Right. So when I suggested S.C.U.D and bought S.C.U.D, that was when I still thought that you had me read the Sandman that was like that big.
Oh, so this was all out of revenge.
It wasn't out of revenge. I've been wanting to read it for a while, but you know.
I didn't even make you read the Big Sandman.
I know you didn't. I thought you did. So I thought that this was like, okay. You had set a precedent that wasn't actually set, but I thought it was.
You just made an assumption.
Yeah. Right. Anyways, we're not here to talk about the kerfuffles of the past. We're here to move forward and discuss S.C.U.D.
We're here to talk about the kerfuffles of the present, apparently.
As you could probably tell, Eddie has some opinions. So, despite this being my pick, I'm assuming Eddie's going to be doing a lot of the talking. Because I have a feeling he has shit he needs to get off his chest.
Yes, but after that, don't expect much.
After what?
I will start off after I get what I have to get off my chest.
Okay.
So let me just say that you made me read this ridiculous book. Mm-hmm. So I'm wearing my ridiculous hat.
I do like the hat. If you're
I've wondered one of these since I was a kid.
Yeah, when did you get that?
My friends got it. It's a wild animal park, safari park thing, and they got it for me because they knew I wanted one.
It's pretty dope.
I don't wear it much, but oops. But this is being a ridiculous book.
Yeah.
You know why? Because I just finished reading it, and my hair looks like this because the entire time I was like...
You're just... Okay.
Yes, there's big chunks missing because I tore it out because of this book. Go ahead.
Okay.
Do what you gotta do.
So, I had heard about this book from, I used to watch a show that Cracked put out called After Hours. And on the Halloween episode, one of the characters dressed as S.C.U.D. And I was like, what is he dressed as? I don't recognize that costume. So I looked it up, found out it was S.C.U.D, learned about the book a little bit. Not much. I just knew the basic premise. And it kind of intrigued me. So I've always wanted to read it, never got around to it. But what S.C.U.D is S.C.U.D the Disposable Assassin. So there are vending machines that you can get assassin androids from. And as soon as they kill their primary target, they self-destruct. Now, S.C.U.D finds a loophole where he doesn't kill his target. He simply incapacitates it, puts it in a hospital, so as long as he keeps paying the hospital bill, then... Jeff is a her. As long as he continues to pay the hospital bill, then he will not self-destruct. And that kind of sets up the rest of the series, is him trying to get money for these hospital bills, although it goes in wildly different directions after that.
It's like the first third of it, maybe at most, is about him trying to pay this hospital bill.
Right. To add, I think this was one of Dan Harmon's first writing gigs. if I remember correctly. I didn't even know he worked on it.
Yeah, he just contributed a part of it. He wasn't. It wasn't. It was Rob Schrabe.
Rob Schrabe did the majority of the writing and created the series, but Dan Harmon is the other primary writer on the show, or on the comic. And S.C.U.D actually appears in an episode of Community, I found out. In the background of one of the episodes, there's a S.C.U.D standing there.
Keep an eye out.
Yeah, I don't remember what episode it is, but I looked it up. It was under the trivia. And they made a Sega Saturn video game for S.C.U.D,
Really?
which I have not played yet, but I do plan on playing at some point in the near future. So, yeah, that's just kind of an intro to S.C.U.D, little background. So, I guess first we'll get into, like, the narrative?
I'm sorry. What the fuck did you just say? The narrative. This, I think.
I guess okay. Initial impressions. I guess first, because you've been waiting a while, so I'll let you have your piece. What's yeah, that was a twitch. You weren't too pixelated to see that.
What I will say is, this book feels like it was written 10 years ago. No, I said that wrong. This book feels like it was written by a 10-year-old.
Okay.
It is basically the most ridiculous fever dream you could possibly come up with. It was written by the Michael Bay mixed with Kevin Smith of writers, in the sense that it was like, let's see how ridiculously stupid we can say everything and do everything and show everything. It felt like it was a kid who got a hold of too many of his parents' VHS tapes because of all the references that were there. And everything that it felt like I was continuously upset by the book as it went on. Like, I kept hoping that there was going to be something of real quality here, but it is 24 issues of just the stupidest shit you can ever read. There's my initial fucking impression.
It never picked up for you at all?
I enjoyed the way that it roped back on itself, in the sense that they kept mentioning things like Hank Grit, or tying it to S.C.U.D, or the drywall thing, or Voodoo Ben Franklin. It was a very big. You got the feel that it was a big, complete story. So, like, from beginning to end. So I enjoyed the way that it was structured on a base-wise of storytelling.
Okay.
Everything that they filled into it was the most juvenile, ridiculous, stupid thing I've ever seen. It was like Ren and Stimpy for comic books.
Oh, I don't think it's as bad as Ren and Stimpy. So I agree with everything you just said for the first part. Up until once the prison break shit is done. Once that, he meets up with Tony, and it goes from there. After the prison break, you had the little mariachi guy on the plane and all that shit in the very beginning part. I was like, oh, I made a boo-boo. This is dumb. Like, powerful dumb. But then after the prison break stuff, it grew on me. I have to admit. It started to take on a kind of Tick Freakazoid vibe for me.
Okay, I can see that, but it feels like it was even more... Okay, imagine like Tick and Freakazoid mixed with like heavy metal.
Yeah, it's rad.
And I don't like that. It felt pointless. It felt like... Because even the content that I was reading in it, like the dialogue and everything, it was like... Every next step that was led on was stupid and disappointing. And it felt like... As I was reading through, it's like, okay, here's another story, and then that story was just ridiculous and stupid, you know what I mean? And then the next story that led into it was ridiculous. But then you get to the end, and it's like the seraphim or whatever taking over heaven. You got like God, like chained, and like he's like looking like a heavy metal kind of god. And I'm like, and then Hank Grit comes out of fucking nowhere, and then S.C.U.D is there and alive, but now she's different. And it was like, it felt like no matter how far along they went and no matter how much they tied the narrative together with what had come before, it was still stupid.
I mean, I can't argue with it. It is stupid, but I mean, Tick is stupid, and Freakazoid's stupid. Like, what about that stupid is different than this stupid?
I think that, first of all, part of it may be because it was in black and white, and it was really fucking hard to tell what was happening most of the time in this book.
There were a lot of scenes. I won't even argue that. There were plenty of scenes in this book that I'm like, I don't really know what's... I know S.C.U.D is fucking shit up, and that's about it. Yeah.
But then every creature kind of looked like every other creature, and then the main bad guy, Jeff or whatever that you want to call her, she kept changing, so it was like you kept trying to figure out if it was Jeff throughout the whole thing, and they kept trying to introduce something, act like it was going to be a big part of it, and then it just got, and then they kept referencing it to some extent, but then it was less important, and then the things that were big and important were like throwaway things before, like Hank Grit.
I mean, it's hard to disagree with anything that you're saying.
I know. And I get where you're going with it in the style of what's wrong with Freakazoid and Tick meets Heavy Metal. It felt like a pointless read to me. It felt like, and not only that, but it was extremely long. And because it was extremely long, first of all, it took me like 6 hours to get through this book. And the entire
probably took
time,
me longer than that.
Yeah. Okay, I'm probably rounding down a little bit, but I figured it took about 15 minutes per issue.
Yeah, that sounds about right. 15 minutes per issue or so.
So for me, it was very much like there's so many things that I would rather be doing than doing this to myself. I wasn't enjoying it, so therefore the length and the non-enjoyment of it made it extra frustrating and annoying for me. Combine that with I can't tell what the fuck is going on most of the time.
I didn't have as much issue with that for some reason. Like, telling what's going on, sure, but I felt everything tied together rather nicely. I thought all the creature designs were interesting and different from each other, for the most part, except in the beginning. There were those big, like, mouth-headed things that were like the biker whatever that he first met before the prison break. Like, they all looked alike.
The gang that worshipped Hank Grit?
Yes, yeah. They all... Oh, I totally forgot they worshipped Hank Grit, and that's the whole thing that ties into S.C.U.D's dad. And see, that's a deep lore right there. Deep
lore? I think that maybe deep doesn't mean what you think it means.
It does, and that's kind of my point. I like that it has such a deep lore, but it's still stupid and childish. I like that juxtaposition.
I guess the immaturity mainly is probably, if it could all be defined, if it could all be wrapped up, from my opinion, in one word, my problem with it was the immaturity.
I don't know. There's something I kind of liked about that aspect. Like, not all of it, obviously. Like, there's definitely some dated terminology that should not be used in this book. And
yeah, I'd say so.
There were a handful. I don't know. There was something I enjoyed about that immaturity being tied to the deep story that was going on in the background. Kind of, again, juxtaposing that goofy, silly, stupid bullshit.
See, I don't feel that there was a deep story in the background. I feel that I was never invested in any of the characters. I mean, don't get me wrong. I didn't hate all the characters. I just didn't care about them. You know what I mean? I didn't care about S.C.U.D even. You know what I mean? I cared a little bit about Drywall.
There's a character that I cared about that we'll get to when we get to MVP. But, yeah, I can see your point. Characters weren't super deep. You know, there wasn't...
For me to really care about a story, I have to care about the characters.
Yeah, that actually kind of explains a lot to me, I think. Because you are a character-driven guy.
Yeah.
And the characters in this they're fine, but they're not anything special. And I do want to comment, I did love the character design of what's his name? Nathan, the giraffe guy, and his gang.
Oh yeah,
In the Western thing, I thought his whole gang had a really cool
yeah, that was
aesthetic.
enjoyable. I
Yeah.
enjoyed that. I really did. That felt like it felt like a Ginyu Force or a
And evil Starjammers. Like, they all had their own
yeah.
kind of
Yeah, there you go, like an X-Men or
quirk.
it felt like a rogues group, like a Brotherhood of Evil Mutants or something. You
Yeah,
know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
Like, yeah. So I really did enjoy that aspect, that little group thing there that they did. The character stuff, not the
Yeah.
actual stuff that they did or
Right.
said or
Not
any
so
of that.
not the characters, the design more in
The concept
those the concept.
more than anything of the team that was kind of like a Ginyu Force or like a Brotherhood, you know what I
Sure.
mean, where you fought them kind of thing, or like a wrecking crew, you know.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy when characters would show up again, like Oswald or
I forgot
Drywall
about Oswald. I like Oswald.
and help me out here. What's his little brother's name?
Oh,
Their
Mess.
older brother. Best. When stuff like that popped up, it was like, okay, that's kind of neat.
It's
You
fun.
know what I mean? But I don't know. It felt like it was a bunch of little mini adventures. Like I said, the skeletal bones of it was well crafted. To have all the little mini adventures and to still feel like it all kind of there was an element to some of it overlapping and all coming together, but a lot of that felt forced, like the ghost astronaut and stuff like that. That a lot of that, the whole astronaut werewolf god thing was
That was interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You didn't have a lot of patience for its particular brand of bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
I can see it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not at all gonna defend this as like,
Right.
no, this is a work of literary genius. No, I'm not.
No.
It's dumb. It is
And
painfully dumb. But I also like that it is self-aware that it's dumb and just kind of goes, this is what it is. You either like it or you don't.
Yeah, no, that's fair, and there is a market for it, absolutely. And don't get me wrong, I'll look through that community and be like, hey, look, it's Scud. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? When I see him pop up or something like that, sure, that's fun. You know what I mean? And Dan Harmon, I even tried to really like the Dan Harmon book, and it felt like we were only getting half a story because of the
spin-off.
Tony stuff. Yeah, so. And so I enjoyed a lot of that, but it still it felt like nothing was there, and it felt like, oh, here's the same thing, but over here, and we're still only going to give you half of it, you know.
So what did you feel about the artwork when you could tell what was going on? Like, did you think that it was solid art, or was it just the way that it was presented?
For me, it was the character design was mostly cool, if not a little bit repetitive and blendy sometimes. I think it would have been better if it was in color. That being said, I can't really say much positive about the artwork because it wasn't in color, couldn't tell what was going on most of the time. The best thing you can say about it for me is the creature design was kind of cool sometimes.
Okay, that's fair.
That's about unfortunately all I can say for the artwork.
The artwork to me was pretty rudimentary. It wasn't anything special. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't special.
I'll
That's
agree with
probably about the extent of the artwork. I do think it would be better in color because even just looking at the cover of the whole shebang, like that really pops.
It does.
So,
But it was also, and I didn't hate all of it, but the problem
Right.
was that it was so bad repeatedly over and over again that even the good things are hard to hold on to. Drywall, and the concept for drywall was neat. And the bones were great. The I enjoyed Little Tony, even though it was dumb. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there were little things like the concept of the competition in that one episode. The studio first shows up, and you know what I mean? Little stuff like that. Like they had really cool ideas around some of it, but the way that those ideas were executed, as far as it feels like they made really solid bones and then they just filled it with a bunch of trash. That's how it came across to me. Was
Okay.
like, if this was, it's the most beautiful glass you've ever seen, like my Batman drinking glass. The most beautiful glass you've ever
is
seen.
this your Batman glass talking point?
will immediately follow this.
Okay.
The most beautiful glass you've ever seen, filled with piss. And so that's the best way I can describe it. And for my Eddie's Batman glass moment, nope.
Oh. Oh, goodness.
It sucked.
All right. Yeah, that was a good...
Just the Batman glass couldn't even... I can't... This is filled with delicious Trader Joe's Old Fashioned. And it's wonderful. And it's still not enough to get me through this book. I am upset just talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't give any other specific opinion of what sucked. I tried to narrow it down. For my Batman glass thought. All I could come up with was it sucked.
I'm actually kind of glad we're having technical issues, because you're pixelated, so I can't see the actual rage seething in your face.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, because I'm sure it's there, and it's directed towards me because it was my pick.
Yes.
So,
yeah. Part of it is towards Rob Schrab, but
okay.
I mean, yeah. There's a lot of it that was towards you, especially while I was reading it. Since then, I've been able to let go of some of that anger because I knew I would be able to come in here and have my form of therapy with you about it and then move on.
Yeah.
You know? So it was like, you know what I mean? Like, it was really unpleasant, but, you know, in the end, cathartic.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you were able to find catharsis out of it. That's something. Yeah.
Yeah, it still haunts me sometimes, though.
MVP.
Okay, MVP, yes.
MVP.
Because
Because I corrected you last time saying VIP, and I was wrong because my graphic is MVP. I mean, my MVP for the whole thing, I knew it immediately as soon as his adorable little face appeared in the comic. It's Drywall. It's got to be Drywall, right?
100% Drywall.
Drywall is the best. I love Drywall.
Absolutely.
I would read a whole comic.
Drywall showed up, I was hooked on Drywall.
Drywall, I would read a Drywall comic by itself. I think there's a spin-off of like 4 issues where it's Drywall and Oswald. I think.
That would be fun.
That's fun.
I will say that Drywall got less appealing and adorable towards the end.
When he started to talk?
When he started to talk and when he started to be kind of a dick.
Well, you know that there was a time gap, right? Not just in the story, but like in the publishing.
Oh, okay. No,
because it ends with the S.C.U.D bit and what happens to her. It ended in 1998 at that moment. Then the last 4 issues were published in 2008. So it was 10 years later when S.C.U.D comes back to Earth and meets Drywall and learns about Oswald and they have the big final showdown. That was 10 years later. So, yeah, before that 10-year jump, I like Drywall better. I still like Drywall at the end. It's just when he starts to talk, it kind of loses something for me. Yeah. But, I mean, him being a dick at the end, I kind of understand it. Like, he's justified.
Absolutely. He's absolutely justified. I just mean, like, he went from being, like, a flirkin to being Rambo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But, I mean, narratively speaking, there was that 10 years of him, like, when shit went to hell.
It doesn't make sense.
Okay.
I'm not criticizing the character development.
Right.
I'm simply saying that I found him less appealing and fun in the later issues.
Fair enough.
I'm not arguing how well it was done, because it was done well.
Yeah.
It's just...
Well, I was just thinking like a Days of Future Past sort of thing.
Which is fair. Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, you know... well, no, that's not fair. I hate Wolverine no matter what timeline. But... but with him...
Hot take on a comic book show. Hot take.
Yeah, well, no. I mean, anybody who knows me knows it's not exactly a hot take.
Right.
But I know most of the public doesn't agree with me. It's like in Battlestar, at the beginning of Season 3, when they're stuck on New Caprica, and everything is different. The Battlestar you knew and loved is gone, and it's just everybody is different. Everybody's harder and gruffer and meaner, and it's like, yeah, it makes sense how you got there, but I didn't like it, and therefore, but it got,
Yeah.
if it had just stayed on New Caprica and been the end of the story, that's what this would have been.
Okay.
Because it feels like it went out with something very different than what it started with, which is saying something considering what it started with
Right.
was different and all over the place all the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was my rant. Drywall went.
Yeah. Drywall is MVP all day
Drywall's
long.
awesome.
Yeah, I love
For sure,
drywall.
yeah.
I want a drywall plushie. Okay, so casting?
I know you had an idea, so I'm going to let you go first.
Yeah, we're or at least I'm doing something a little different because I don't feel like this could ever be done live action. I don't think it could be. I don't think it's possible.
Right. I think that we talked about this a little bit before in one of our other episodes, because at this point you can pick a character that you want and just acknowledge that it's just voice acting. You know what I mean?
Right.
Rather than a live action interpretation.
Yeah. So I'm going strictly animated and there was also an animated series that was going to be done on MTV back in the 90s. Apparently they got all the way to
90s.
Yeah, very 90s, very not like Aeon Flux, but that kind of period of MTV. And apparently they got to casting and they casted the whole thing, but I couldn't find any information on who was cast. But here's mine. So, casting an animated show or movie, I go S.C.U.D. I go a Will Arnett.
Oh, I like that. That's
Voicing
good.
S.C.U.D. Voodoo Ben.
Are you doing a bunch of them? Okay.
I'm doing 3. S.C.U.D. is Will Arnett.
Yeah.
Voodoo Ben. I go Paul Giamatti.
That's great too. Damn, these are both really good.
And Jeff. I went back and forth on this because Jeff is probably my least favorite character. But I had to do it. Jeff, I go Monique.
Okay.
That's my casting right there. My voice cast.
Okay. Okay. I kind of have 2.
Okay.
Big Tony.
Okay.
I would love to see as Michael Imperioli. He's pretty classic for playing like mobster guys, but it's such a ridiculous role that he's such a serious like mob actor that it's somebody who I would love to see that seriousness. I want
doing
to see
like a parody
seriously.
Oh, okay. I see what
In a
you're saying.
situation, you know what I mean? Kind of juxtapose it.
Let me see. What's his
Michael
name?
Imperioli.
Yeah, Michael.
Imperioli, IMP.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know him. He was from. He was on Sopranos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So Michael Imperioli as Little Tony. I also thought that Anne Hathaway for S.C.U.D.
Okay. I like that. Yeah.
Those are the 2 that I came up with. I kept thinking about Drywall, but there was just... I mean, you can cast like Fred Tatasciore as the voice in the last one, but...
Right, exactly. Like, since he didn't talk till the end, it kind of didn't work. I'm glad that you didn't pick people that I picked. Because I think that that's a good blend of characters from the book. Yeah. Yeah, I was pretty happy. I almost didn't go Will Arnett. I almost went like with a more traditional voice actor like John Kassir. Because I don't know if Will Arnett could get as manic as S.C.U.D is.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
almost went with somebody like Ryan Reynolds.
Right, but then I didn't want to fall into like the Deadpool trap because he is very Deadpool.
Exactly. So that's the easy choice.
Yeah, I thought that and I went, no, I want to mix it up. But then John Kassir does Deadpool in the Ultimate Alliance games, so then I'm still falling in that same trap. So I just went Will Arnett. All right, so are we done here? Am I forgiven?
There's no, but I'm trying to think if we covered everything. So we did MVP, we did casting.
Casting, we did art, we did narrative.
Narrative.
A little bit of background with the video game and the MTV show and all that kind of jazz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the spin-off with Dan Harmon. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the my name is Scud. No.
You gotta stop doing that, man. It was bad the first time. Nobody got it.
It's not my fault if nobody has good taste in music.
Yeah. Well, no, but this book.
And side note, now that I think of it, if there was a Scud cartoon or movie, I would have Primus do the score, and it would be perfect. Primus doing the score for a Scud project, that would be brilliant.
I can totally see it. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I even got a fucking score in there. I'm on fire. They should.
You're so proud of yourself.
MTV should hire me to develop the Scud show.
Right, I mean, I'm gonna do my best to let go of this anger before next time, but
you won't.
Yes. However, I believe that the next book we will be doing is going to be Joss Whedon's Fray, and so which is my pick, and I am. As far as this goes and the Whedonverse in general, I tend to do pretty much the same thing that I do with the Wizarding world, which is love the art and hate the artist. Obviously, Joss Whedon is not somebody who I look up to any longer. He was a big influence on my early development as far as writing goes and storytelling goes. And I don't take any of that away from him as far as like his talent and his skill. That being said, the guy's a piece of garbage. Ends up
hot garbage.
And so, but I am not going to deprive myself of things like Buffy or Firefly or the Avengers just because he's a piece of garbage. The same way, I'm not going to shit on the Wizarding world just because J.K. Rowling's a piece of garbage. Okay. No. Well, we've gone off on a little bit of a rant here, which I'm assuming most of this will be.
Yeah, probably a lot of it'll be cut out. No, not Joss Whedon being garbage.
Right.
Because we'll keep that as a...
To that because I've read this book and I really enjoyed it. It's essentially, and I'm going to tell you this because I don't know if you know this or not, it is essentially the Buffyverse, but in the very far distant future.
Yeah. I did know that, and I'm reading Buffy Season 8 right now. So there are certain things I'm seeing... I enjoy it enough. There are certain things I'm seeing, like the Scythe, I know is in Fray.
Right. And the thing is that Fray came around before the end of Buffy.
Right.
So
but we shouldn't talk too much...
Fray and put it in Buffy.
We shouldn't talk too much about it before the episode, but yeah.
Right. I was just saying that setting up for the book, it's Buffyverse in the future.
Right. Cool. So, I think we're done. Eddie's Always Die?
No, until then, read more comics.
Read more comics. And Eddie always dies.
Eddie's Always Die.